Win big with new DRF All Access past performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all three past performance formats. Go to DRF.com and use coupon code 1FREEPP for a free single card today.
Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 10 at Tampa Bay on Saturday, the second of two graded stakes races scheduled for turf. Let's take a look at the field for the Tampa Bay Stakes. It's a grade 3 worth $175,000. 10 entered, including the number 1, Never Explain, your 5-2 morning line favorite for Shug McGahee, making his first start since the Kentucky Downs meet. The good news is Shug usually has him cranked off of layoffs, and this horse showed a lot of quality last year.
Yeah, he's been a good horse for a long time. It took him a while to put everything together. It felt like he finally did that last year. He was much more rateable, let's just say that, in his races. And listen, Shug tried to go longer with him towards the end of the year. I think he's better going shorter.
And he might get some pace to run out. We throw up our time form US pace projector, and I know there's no red bar, Mike, and they have Win From Within clearing off to the lead. And yes, that horse is fast, but so is the number 2 Churchtown, and so is the number 10 Running Bee. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this pace starts to quicken up a little bit on the backside.
Yeah, I thought there was a chance that happens too. Maybe, it won't be a blazing pace, but it could be competitive up there, Dan, because I agree with you. The 2, the 4, the 7, even the 7 candidate, he could be forward in this race. The 10, obviously, Running Bee could go forward. So there's a chance this race sets up the right way for the closers.
Never Explain won a graded stakes race first time at that level. That was the dinner party at Pimlico during their spring meeting. I thought he ran very well in the Monmouth 4 starts back, a race where he made this big wide move early to go after the leader, and he just got run down late. I think his last 2 starts, Mike, he was in pretty tough. I'm willing to forgive the Kentucky Downs race. The Arlington Million was a situation where he got into some traffic. I like him cutting back in distance. It's all about whether he gets a setup and trip.
Yeah, agreed. And listen, he's not a horse who needs a bunch of pace in front of him. He's not a slow horse, Dan. He can be his own worst enemy at times. He doesn't always want to rate, and he sort of gets into fights with his riders. But when he minds his manners, he's able to sit a nice trip, and he could get one right in behind the leaders here. Your point about the Arlington Million 2 bags well taken. I mean, I don't think I would have been surprised if he had won that race had he wound up not getting stuck behind horses around the final turn.
Churchtown is the number 2. He's pretty quick from the gate. We'll see how Gallardo wants to play it. He was pushing the pace last time out, a race that also featured Win From Within. He got the better of Win From Within that day. He's returning off another little bit of a layoff, and this is a horse that, apart from one bad race at Kentucky Downs, a track that just some horses don't handle at all, he's been relatively consistent.
He really has, and he's got a great running style too, because he has speed, but he is not a horse who needs to be right on the early lead to be effective. I actually thought the last time we saw him at Churchill, I thought he ran pretty well that day, Dan. I mean, they did sort of sit off of Win From Within that day and then come after him as that field came into the stretch, and he was really game in that race. It just felt like he had to work a little too hard to get by Win From Within, and it cost him at the end.
Mose was on a hard chase last time out to go after Candidate. He tired pretty badly, but maybe he needed that start. It was his first race since April. Perhaps we'll see him a little bit sharper here. I've never really thought of him as a graded stakes kind of horse, but he does have some tactical speed and potentially could improve off of that last run.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously he's going to have to, because he did not run well the last time we saw him off the layoff day. And we'll see if he just maybe needed that race. It's also worth noting they went forward early in that race. He's probably better when they just take him back and try to make a run.
Win From Within ran a very good second in this race last year when sent to the front. He battled with a 54-1 shot, shrugged that horse off, and was second, albeit a no-match second to a sharp horse in Emmanuel. He was claimed 2 starts back for a whopping $150,000, and they immediately ran him on dirt. And you and I thought that was somewhat of a questionable move. It didn't work out in the grade 3 Mr. Prospector. So they're back to turf. They're stretching out, and he should show speed.
He should. We'll see if he can just maybe get over the hump a little bit here, because when you go back to his last turf start, the one we just talked about where Churchtown was in that race also, I mean, he didn't really have an excuse there, Dan. They let him have the lead. He didn't take a lot of pressure. And then when they came for him, I'll give him credit. He was dead game in there, but he wasn't good enough to get it done. I'm also a little bit bothered. I mean, you claim an Into Mischief for $150,000. You're probably thinking maybe you could turn him into a dirt horse, and that didn't work out last time.
Olympic Runner is the number 5. I've been a big fan of this horse, but I've gotten to the point where how much more money can I lose on Olympic Runner, who runs well on occasion, but just doesn't seem to get over the hump? The last win coming when he was entered for a $100,000 tag at Colonial, going 5.5 furlongs. He's just better than those horses. Last time out in the Joe Hernandez, maybe he was pace compromised. It was a race where speed really held up. 2 starts back in the Woodford, going 5.5 furlongs. I think that distance is a little bit sharp for him. I just don't know what's his good distance. I think he's his best at a 1-turn mile.
Yeah, that's the real question, isn't it? I mean, he's got races in him that would make him really tough in here, and it'll be a fair price too. So I'm not going to knock this horse. I understand why they tried to make him a sprinter last year, and in some ways it worked out. He did win the Colonial race, the Kentucky race. He got beat half a length. I mean, I'm sure that's $1 million race the way those purses are. So it kind of worked out, Dan. He's probably a tweener though, right? 7 to 8 furlongs, and then when you get beyond that, maybe it's not his best.
Irish Aces is a horse with all upside potential. Here's his most recent start. This is his first race against Stakes Company in the Tropical Park Derby down at Gulfstream, and he just has a ton to do. He didn't break well at all from a tough outside post position. He swings 5 wide into the stretch, and maybe a couple more strides he gets there. He ran very, very well, and again, this is only start number 5.
Yeah, this is a good performance. I'd like to see him get a better trip in this race than he got in that one. Did stumble a little bit. They just took him back to last in that race, Dan. And you could see in the stretch there, he had way too much to do. I just liked the way that he lengthened. Once he got his sights on the leaders, he really came for them. He just couldn't get there. His 2 prior starts on the turf, the 2 wins over the last year, boy, did he run really well in those races.
I really like the way Arnaud Delacour's handled the number 7 Candidate. This is a horse that reeled off 3 consecutive victories, including the Dania Beach early in 2023, and then he just sort of lost his form a little bit. Here's his most recent start. They brought him back off a 6-month layoff, and I think he just came back a more mature individual. He rated very comfortably on an easy lead here. He's able to sprint on home and just get there by a nose. This is a race that he can build off of, although the pace might be a little bit faster and he's stepping back up in class.
Yeah, all those things are true, Dan. I'm with you. I thought he had some potential earlier on in his career, and I don't know what to do with him off of that race right there. Listen, I know it was a little bit of a layoff. Maybe he needed it. I wanted to see him win that race a little bit easier than he did. I mean, he was saved by the wire in that spot, and obviously this is going to be a lot tougher for him to win.
CJ Boston goes after Jimmy Toner, a horseman that really deserves a lot of attention at good prices in these sort of races on turf. Exiting a pretty good 3rd place effort in the Grade 3 River City last time out. It was just another situation where he fell far back and he came with a run. He is a horse, though, that has shown more versatility from a running style standpoint in the past.
Yeah, that's true. He's got post 8 here, but maybe he can sort of get himself into a little bit of a better trip this time. I like him as a horse, Dan. I'm not sure that I think he's really a graded stakes kind of horse who's going to win some major races, but I think he fits okay in this field. And if there's pace in front of him, it helps.
April Fool's Andy, the number 9, won his first 3 starts on turf, including a score 2 starts back in a second-level allowance at Tampa Bay Downs, where he got a great race flow, a fast pace, and he ran him down late. He exits the Tropical Park Derby, and that was a race where he just didn't get the right trip.
That's what I thought too. I mean, I think obviously he's still got something to prove here, but the big win 2 starts back, and he did have a fast pace to close into. So maybe he took advantage there, but that made him 3 for 3 on the grass. And then you'll say, all right, they tested him last time and he was found out. He didn't get a good trip at all in that race.
Chad Brown's up next with the 10 Running Bee, a horse that won off of a lengthy layoff in a second-level allowance 2 starts back at Aqueduct. It was a race, though, where he was able to get the lead. He sort of shrugged off a big long shot that day, and then he strutted on home as much the best. They ran him in the Fort Lauderdale last time out at 1 1/8. He was on the chase going after the front-running winner. He just couldn't stay with him late, but it is his 3rd start off of a lengthy layoff, and he has enough tactical speed maybe to get a good spot without losing too much ground.
Right. Yeah, and I guess he's got some upside still too, Dan. I don't really know what to do with him. I was pretty disappointed in his Fort Lauderdale last time. I didn't like that performance from him. And that just, when I see him at 4 to 1 on the morning line, it just makes me feel like I'm not betting him at that kind of a price. We'll see where he ultimately lands. I was kind of against him here, but he has the chance to be really competitive against this field.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Tampa Bay Stakes on Saturday. Irish Aces, all upside, not a good trip last time out. And because he's so lightly raced and kind of lacks the credentials of some of the others, he might actually fall through the cracks from a wagering standpoint.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't think I would take any kind of shorter price on him, but if he's a fair price in this race, I think there's a chance he takes a step forward. We talked about the pace, Dan. I think they could go in front of him here, and that will help him. And more than anything else, I just think he ran a really underrated race last time.
Siege of Boston, the 8's kind of a horse I want to fool around with here. I don't think we've seen his best, and Toner does well with these kind of horses off layoffs. Win from Within's getting back to turf. I think he's going to use his speed. He's run well over this course in the past. I think he's just going to be a pretty good price in here, and he's a horse that I want to fool around with in exotics top and bottom. 4, 8, 10, 1 for me, 6, 1, 2, 8 for Mike, and the Tampa Bay Stakes on Saturday. Good luck.